Good morning, everyone. Just gonna wait for you guys to tune in. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, Facebook. Come on in. Good morning, Maber Mudes. Lapa Lapa. Hi, Mr. Amazing. Good morning. Welcome. If this is your first time tuning in, let me know where you're tuning in from so I can shout you out. Nilechi, good morning as well. Hector, good morning. Hope you all are doing well. Ronke, the writer, good morning. Nilechi, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Madeline, good caricature. Good morning. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Aisha Chidole, and I'm an immigration lawyer. I represent clients all over the United States with their immigration. If you'd like to schedule a consultation, call our office, 407-995-6567. You can also call 678-325-1037 or send a WhatsApp to 404 333-8751. Let me put the number in here so you guys can have that. 678. They're just too many numbers, so I don't know them by heart. So give me a second. Let me get this other number, 325-107. Good morning, Karen. Welcome in. Someone is asking me to repeat it slowly. Just give me a second. I'm actually typing the numbers in so I can pin it. That way, I don't have to even say it. You can just copy it from there. So just give me a second, please. Okay. So Maber Moods, you should be able to see it right now. It's pinned right there. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook, you should be able to see my phone number, going under the ticker. Okay. Yes. So today I really wanted to talk about, I see some questions. Cape Cod in the house. Hi, Shamika. Welcome. Jennifer says it's been a while. Welcome, Brown. Good morning. Today I really wanted to talk about, last week I talked about the elements of VAWA application and what makes you eligible for a VAWA application. Today I want to talk about the benefits of a VAWA application if you are eligible. And I think the next time I'll do trafficking and then and just kind of go through all the humanitarian cases. So if you are eligible, well, one of the benefits as a VAWA applicant, if you are eligible based on being married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder who's abusive, is that there are certain exemptions that in a normal scenario where you're not able to adjust your status, that's, I think, the biggest one. This allows you to adjust your status. For instance, if you came into the country on a crewman visa, like a C or D visa, basically to be in the crew of cruise ship or whatever it is, in a normal scenario, you cannot adjust your status if you're married to a U.S. citizen. But that said, if you become abused by a U.S. citizen, you can file VAWA, and VAWA allows you to adjust your status. Another exemption and benefit for certain groups of people that are able to get your green card through VAWA if they're victims of abuse is those who come into the United States on a fiancé K visa. So for many of you may not know, or maybe you've heard the phrase 90-day visa. When you come into the country, when someone sponsors you as their fiancé into the United States, and they marry you, but then they're just like, you know what, marriage is over. I'm not filing for you. I'm not doing a financial affidavit of support. For those people, the penalty is really harsh because what it means is that they cannot adjust their status, meaning they cannot get their green card in the United States. They cannot get their green card in the United States if that person that filed for them not for the fiance visa, doesn't file the adjustment of status as a financial sponsor, right? However, if they've been a victim of abuse and are eligible for VAWA, you can bypass that and file for VAWA if you've been a victim of abuse, and you will not be penalized for that person not filing for you. The other group of people who get the exception would be if you entered the United States without inspection. So, people ask what is inspection versus non-inspection. Entering into the United States without inspection means that you crossed the border. Your parents brought you through the border, or you came in through the border, meaning there was no customs and border that inspected you. In a normal scenario, in that situation, you normally have to, first of all, do the I-130. When your I-130 is approved, then you do the 601 waiver, 601A waiver. If that is approved, then you go back to the home country to consular process. But if you've been a victim of abuse at the hands of either your U.S. citizen spouse or your green card holder spouse, or you're a child who is who's under 21. I mean, there's some exceptions for late filing between 21 to 24. But if you're a child of a U.S. citizen or green card holder, or if you are the parent of a U.S. citizen that is over the age of 21, these exceptions will apply, which allow you to file VAWA and adjustment of status together. Again, adjustment of status is the application that gives you the green card. VAWA is the application that makes you eligible for the adjustment of status. So oftentimes, depending on the status of the abuser, you can do a concurrent filing, meaning you can file both VAWA and the adjustment of status, your work permit, your travel permit, your Social Security request, all at the same time. All of this depends on the status of the abuser and the visa bulletin at the time you're filing. So those are some of the nuanced exceptions for victims of abuse in this case. And then, of course, some of the benefits are that if you do get approved, you do get a 10-year green card as opposed to a 2-year conditional green card. And also, all your children that are under 21 will be approved with you. So if you have children who are under 21, at the time you filed for VAWA, their age is locked in. Whether they're in the United States or whether they're outside of the United States, their age is locked in. So it is very important to include all your children in your VAWA application. So if your VAWA is approved, their VAWA will be approved, regardless of whether they're in the United States or not. Okay, let's see what other benefits, because I'm thinking off the top of my head for as many of the benefits as possible. And another benefit is that for some people, this is very state specific. And so I can't specifically speak on any state because I don't know all 50 states requirement. The prima facie determination letter. So a prima facie determination letter is typically a letter that USCIS will give you that says that we've determined that your case meets the prima facie requirements of VAWA, meaning the elements of VAWA on the surface level has been met. So when I say surface level, it means they've kind of looked at your case. I'm just looking at the packet next to my desk, looked at your case and, okay, married to a green card holder. Okay, there's some things about abuse here. Okay, there's some things showing that there's good faith marriage, and stuff like that. They will give you a prima facie determination letter for a year. The first one is a year, and then after that, it's automatically renews itself. You don't need to call them for it. It automatically renews itself every 6 months until they make a decision on your case. With the prima facie determination letter, for many people, depending on the state you're from, it allows you to get a driver's license. This is very, very state specific. So I can't tell you. I know that Texas just changed the DMV requirements. So I haven't checked that. But Texas, for example, or Florida used to be two states that would allow you to get a driver's license with a prima facie determination. I know I saw this like a couple of weeks ago where they've updated, but I haven't checked, so I can't really tell you emphatically that it's still the same. And then for many people who want to go back to school or their children are trying to go to college, it also helps you to use that for financial aid, like to request financial aid when you have a prima facie determination. Granted, the financial aid is only given for the period of the prima facie. So if it's like 1 month, 6 month increments or whatever it is, but for many people who want to better their lives or to go back to school, this is an opportunity to go back to school or to have your kids go to college, right? Because as we know, college changes the trajectory of many people's lives. Even though college is not necessarily the end all be all, the many successful people that don't have to go to college. But if you want to go to college, like this is something that is helpful to many, especially when college costs are like ridiculously insane. Let's see. And another benefit of the prima facie, this is state specific. I'll talk about New York because New York is just one of the ones that I always remember. You can, if you're living with your abuser, you are able to, or they're able to, your state is able to help you find housing or support you with housing to move out of your abuser for your safety. For a lot of the states that allow this, one of the key requirements is that you cannot be living in the house they place you in with your abuser. Okay. And then the final benefit I want to talk about, I'm sure there are many. I'm just going off the top of my head to remember as many as I can. The final benefit, if you're eligible, is when you do get your 10-year green card, you can file for citizenship within 3 years. So meaning once you hit 2 years and 9 months of your green card application, you can file for your citizenship, as opposed to waiting for 5 years, whether or not you and your spouse have been divorced or not. And people ask, my spouse wants to divorce me, then can I still file for VAWA or whatever it is? Even if you're divorced, you can still file for VAWA. The key thing to remember is that you must submit your VAWA application before your divorce has hit its 2-year divorce anniversary. So you want to file the application before it has reached. So if you are someone, that is experiencing, I've kind of had other videos where I kind of talk about, elements of VAWA and to know if there's potentially abuse going on, and you might not be sure you're eligible, you should definitely, contact a lawyer, contact someone to screen you to determine eligibility. Because oftentimes what I've seen, in my experience is that for many people, depending on their culture or certain things that are culturally okay, they don't know that it's abusive or it's that abusive. Like, I can't tell you how many people will say, oh yeah, like she just punched me the one time, but she doesn't really punch me. Maybe she just pushes me, or maybe in their culture, like they've seen, where that's normal, or like, you go to the cops and the cops tell you, go work it out with your spouse, go figure out what y'all are doing without doing anything. So they may think, I need to be bloodied and bruised, or different things. So, yeah. So if you fall somewhere within that, you should definitely, schedule a consultation to see if you're eligible, and, get the application in. Okay. So let's go through Facebook. Ras, good morning. Kendrika says, here, guys, if anyone wants to hire Aisha, 10 over 10, I got approved in less than 9 months. Yay! Aisha is phenomenal. Just have to be patient. Thank you so much. Yeah, you guys, immigration is a long game. It's like building a house, right? And I use a building a house analogy because immigration is you're building a foundation. So immigration is like building a house because you're building a foundation on which you and the rest of your family are going to sit, the land you're going to live in, or the land that you want to make home for you and generations to come. And so, nothing good, comes easy, right? Or takes time. For many of us lawyers, trust me, If we could, wave a wand, get your file out, we send it, they receive it, cash that check and approve you right away, that would be amazing, but you got to think that just as you're waiting, there are hundreds of thousands of people that have applied, and there are more applicants than human beings, reviewing this application. And then you have all of this back and forth, pause this, hold this, move that, address change, move this file over here, move this over here, review this policy is true. There's so much going on, and this is just the nature of this area of law, because immigration, like when people who want to go to law school or ask me, is immigration a good area to go into? Or, I'm interested in immigration. Like, one of the things I tell them is that you have to be ready to be a constant student, and what do I mean by that? Like, I can be telling you something with authority today. Tomorrow, the laws have changed, because the laws will change every single year, depending on who's in office, what they feel like doing, what new stuff is going on in the world, because even things going on in the world impact even U.S. immigration. So we're constantly having to study while having to work, while having to calm clients down, while having to educate people that are not clients, and quell a lot of misinformation. Like, I think that for me has been the most frustrating part of, especially this administration, the amount of misinformation, but the thing is, nobody, social media doesn't do what it did in COVID time, where, you guys remember, like, during COVID, if you say something that's not true, it's just out of whack on COVID, they'll have like a little note on the bottom saying, this has not been proven, this is not facts, or whatever it is. I wish they would do that for the law as well. That way people, but a lot of people are feeding on people's gullibility. And then there's also a sensationalizing of news that it's really, really hard to just be, to not constantly be like teaching and saying, nope, this is what it is. Nope, this is what the law is today, or whatever it is. So, if you want to go into immigration, you need to make sure that you're someone who's okay with reading in volume, because the amount of reading is immense. Like, I can tell you, like, my two daughters absolutely do not want to be lawyers just because they see what I do every day. So yeah. Someone says, hi, attorney, on VAWA, for what years USCI is working on? We're still seeing 2022 right now. So I will, that's what I would say. So still just expect 3 to 3.5 years for your case, unless you were approved for an expedite. And, with expedite, you need to have like an extraordinary circumstance that requires or necessitates your expedite. Oftentimes, if they can approve, if whatever it is relates to you having the ability to work, they might decline the expedite, and sometimes we'll just go ahead and approve your work permit if you have a work permit that's pending. So it just, really depends. Okay. All right, let's take some more questions. How long after fingerprinting does work permit and travel document arrive? If I could get $1 for every time this question is asked every single day I come on live, I'll just have like a pile of money somewhere. But the answer is, I don't know. There used to be a time that I could predictably tell you 12 weeks, or whatever it is, but I can't tell you. So we just go based on the normal timeline. Last year we saw work permits coming back to the shorter timeline of about like 6 months, 6.5 months. This year I'm seeing a trend where it's moving more towards like 7-8 months, where it's in the middle. USCIS will still tell you, they still have a, 4 to 11 months or even sometimes 12-month timeline. But since they changed the work permit to like an 18-month work permit, and then they stopped automatic renewals and all of that stuff, because, they're trying to suffocate people. We're definitely seeing slower approvals of the work permits, so I would say that we're seeing more Oh wait, I had some on my desk. I would have checked, but I think I gave it back to the my staff. So that's what we're seeing more of. So that might be a better way for you to do the math. What if you file a case with another lawyer and you want to move to us for representation? The answer is that it's going to depend, because it's going to depend on the case. It depends on why you want to move, and it depends on what's going on in the case. So we're definitely happy to have a consultation, go over your immigration history, see if it makes sense, understand the strategy you're using, what is the reason you're wanting to leave, because sometimes some clients or some people that come into consults truly have a misunderstanding of certain things, or how certain things work, and sometimes they are with lawyers that are not the best, so it's a mixed bag, so we always want to first of all review it to see that. Chidilwe, been trying to reach you guys. I'm not really sure how you are trying to reach us, but try our phone number again, or send a DM on Instagram or Facebook. If YouTube has a DM, I don't know, because I don't even check my YouTube, but you can send a DM on our Facebook page or Instagram. Instagram is Immigration Attorney Ayesha, and I think Facebook is Immigration Lawyer Ayesha. I hope I'm correct with that. I'm not sure, but if you're on Facebook, you can confirm, please. Okay. So this person says, I am from Egypt. I submitted my VAWA and Form I-485. You mean I-485 on November 2022? No RFE. I received 6 prima facies and EAD. And when do I expect to hear from USCIS? And how can I contact them to check? Let me check. I have my list here of countries with adjudicative hold. Let me just check your country real quick. Okay, so you're good. So you're within a decision timeline. So that's what I would say. You're within a decision timeline. Ahmed, if you don't have a lawyer, the only way that you can contact USCIS is via snail mail or verified phone call. So they're going to need a bunch of information from you to be able to authenticate you, even though some who pick up the phone are still not trained to take calls from VAWA, because in the past you couldn't make a phone call with VAWA cases. Now you technically can, but a lot of times it's still like drilling a hole in the wall, trying to get them to know that they can verify you. But you can do snail mail. And then the other option is using an attorney, because we have an attorney hotline where we can email them directly to get that information for you. Okay. Do you think it's a good time to file for adjustment of status due to the immigration situation right now? I'm a Nigerian married to a U.S. citizen, but I overstayed my visitor's visa. What is the alternative if you don't file? Sitting in your house for the next 4 years and praying to God that they don't send an administrative warrant for your detention? Why would you not file if you're eligible for something? You, of course, should file for something if you're eligible for something, so you can get your green card. Because the sooner you get your green card, the sooner the fear and the panic and the pandemonium, comes out of the way, and, we talk about worst case scenarios, like in consultations, I love to talk about worst case scenarios, because I think that attacking people's greatest fear down to the best case scenario, is always good. But, you are in the worst case scenario right now, which is nothing. You've got nothing. So if you don't have any petition going for you, you don't have anyone filing for you, you're not eligible for anything, you are in the absolute worst case scenario. If you have anything that you're eligible for, you better file it, because that is what is going to protect you from deportation. Even if, let's say, whatever reason, ICE picked you up, right? You still have your day in court, right? And you have something that can protect you from deportation, versus nothing. So you understand what I'm saying? If you're eligible for something, you better do it. But more importantly, you mentioned that you're from Nigeria. Knowing that Nigeria is one of the countries, one of the 39 countries that have this adjudicative hold, that you want to make sure that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's. What do I mean by that? If you are from any of those countries that USCIS is pausing to create a higher level of scrutiny for, you want to make sure that you have a solid case. You want to make sure that you're working with a professional that understands what it is that USCIS is looking for, that understands and can tell you that even though you think this is a great evidence, it is not. We're not going to submit this, or this is a great evidence, submit it. It's crazy how much stuff people sometimes can actually have that is helpful to their case, but they don't know that is helpful to their case because they're not looking into the minutia, the bigger, the smaller details. It's bigger things that, they think, oh, okay, let's just go get a lease together. Let's go get insurance together, whatever it is. There's just so much nuanced things that makes sense for your application. And then, of course, having someone that has been to hundreds of interviews prep you for an interview, because they know what to expect, at these interviews. So yes, you should absolutely file. I know that I was talking so much today. I don't think I got to so many of the questions, but I gotta go. But I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you guys live next week. I come on live on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Unless I have a USCIS. If you don't see me here on any of those days, I'm at USCIS's office at that time. A lot of my interviews tend to be in the morning. Sometimes I have interviews in the afternoon, but a lot of them tend to be, in the morning. But again, schedule a consultation. Let's chat. Let's see what's going on with your case or what you're eligible for. I'm going to do trafficking visas and U visas next week, because I think it's also important that people learn about cases that you don't need to be married to be eligible for. You'll be surprised at how many people have experienced trafficking or labor abuse that can arise to the level of trafficking that they don't know that makes them eligible. And the thing about trafficking and U visas is that it forgives a lot of things, including if you've ever had a false claim to citizenship. But we'll talk about that next week. Hope you guys have a good day and talk to you all later. Bye.